As indie devs, we have a ton of responsibilities on our plates every single day, and staying consistent with our readings of newsletters may be nearly impossible to fit in our schedules. But podcasts, though, can be your secret weapon to staying sharp, inspired, and ahead of your game, all while staying focused on other things so you are no longer wasting time. Today I'm sharing 5 podcasts that have been total game changers to me and might be the same for you, so stick around. Hey everyone, I'm Kuba, and if you're new here, I'm a seasoned app developer with over 6 apps live on the App Store. Being an indie developer often feels like you are doing everything on your own. And well, honestly, you're kinda alone. But here's the thing, you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time you encounter an issue. There have been a lot of people before you who've already faced the same thing as you are facing right now. And those people generously share their experiences and share their lessons they learned from fixing those bugs. In this video, I'll take you through 5 amazing podcasts for indie creators. By the end, you'll have a playlist that will keep you inspired, smarter, and build things faster and more efficiently. So let's dive in. Swift Over Coffee is an amazing podcast for all Swift developers. Imagine sitting down with 2 friends who happen to be experts in Swift development. That's exactly the vibe here. It's casual, yet packed with actionable tips. They've covered topics like async await, combine, and Swift UI, concepts that can transform the way you approach programming. What I love most about this podcast, though, is that it's not only about code. The hosts delve into realities of being a developer, from the highs to the lows, and everything in between. While Swift Over Coffee helps you sharpen your coding skills, the next podcast shifts your focus to life and business. The Diary of a CEO is my go-to for mindset inspiration. Hosted by Stephen Bartlett, it features raw, honest conversations and deep dives into what makes successful people tick. Stephen's approach is refreshingly real, sharing stories of failure and lessons learned the hard way. This podcast helps me gain clarity and inspiration. I remember one episode with Netflix exec, and even though I couldn't relate to his problems, there are still a bunch of lessons and takeaways here to unpack. But sometimes you need advice tailored specifically to indie creators. That's where the next podcast, which honestly I love the most, excels. Going Indie is the newest podcast on this list. It has only released 2 episodes so far, and it is totally my favorite podcast on this list. It's like getting behind the scenes look at what it actually means to build and ship apps fast. The host perspective is super relatable because he's an indie dev too. And as a plus, it's cool to see that other developers struggle with the same things as I do. So far, there are only 2 episodes released, but it's for sure a podcast I look forward to listening the most in 2025. While this podcast focuses mostly on life of an indie dev, the next one will cover a different perspective on life and priorities. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Thing is based on the best-selling book and offers a breath of fresh air. It's not about hustling harder, but about focusing on what really matters and letting go of the noise. Mark Manson, the most forthcoming guy on the internet, shares practical advice on creating boundaries and handling criticism, skills essential to anyone putting the work out there to the world to see. For me, listening to this podcast feels like hitting a reset button for my brain, helping me make better decisions in both life and work too. Finally, to tie everything together, here is the final podcast that makes me informed about the bigger picture of the world. The Morning Brew podcast series is like having a pocket full of business and tech wisdom perfect for keeping up with the world while you're on the go. They have something for pretty much anyone. Whether you're curious about big business trends, want to sharpen your investing skills, or just need to know more about the latest financial news. If you are looking for a fun new way to find new opportunities, stay at top of the news, and stay informed about the current situation, Morning Brew podcasts are a must-have for you. And they're a solid addition to your new podcast playlist. Give them a listen and you won't regret a thing. These are my 5 go-to podcasts I listen to pretty much every day. Each one brings something unique to the table, whether it's leveling up your coding skills, finding inspiration, or staying informed. But here's the thing, listening to the podcast is only the beginning. Taking action on what you are listening to is where the magic happens, and honestly is the hardest step. If you want to get deeper, I've got a whole video covering 5 tools every iOS developer needs to use. Click here and I'll see you in a sec.